Hey there everybody, how's it going? My name is Lane and welcome back to Redstone 101. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 redstone contraptions that you need in your Minecraft world. Alright, so the first one that we're going to be looking at today is going to be the Etho Hopper Clock. Now, these clocks are very common to see in a redstone contraption, and these are ones that I have personally used quite a bit myself, and I love these designs. There are other clocks out there, and I will be making a video on that in the future, but for today's video, this is going to be the only clock that we are actually looking at. So let's explain how this works. So there are comparators here that are reading how much is in the hopper in front of it, or well, behind it, I should say. And when there are blocks in it, it puts out a redstone signal to this block that then sends out a signal to this redstone dust, which powers the piston, and it keeps cycling it back and forth. And this essentially just makes, well, it makes a clock. If you connect this up to something else, then, well, it is then on a timed circuit. So how does it work? Well, you see the hoppers here are funneled into each other. You can see that right down here. And essentially, if you just drop some items in there, it will start counting the items and filtering it out. And once this hopper empties out, this will shift over to here and then it will reset again. Just like that. It is super simple, super easy, and it is super compact. So I'm going to show you how to make that. So the materials that you will need to actually make this is going to be 1 redstone block, 2 sticky pistons, 2 hoppers, 2 comparators, 2 redstone dust, and 2 random building blocks, as long as they are solid blocks. If the block is not a solid block, then the redstone signal will not pass through it. The redstone will only pass through solid blocks. So to get started, we will start by placing hoppers down here. I don't know why I placed that one there. We'll place one here, and then we will face another one right into it. You'll know it's right because the funnel will be facing inwards like this. You will place a comparator right here on the outside facing that direction, and you'll do that behind both hoppers. You'll then add in the solid block behind both of those, the redstone dust behind both of those, and then the sticky pistons facing inwards like this, and then 1 block of redstone. And that is literally all it takes to build this. This is super quick. If you missed any of that, you can pause the video and check it out. But this is really simple. I think anybody should just about be able to follow along with it. And to test out that this works, you can just start by placing in a couple of blocks into the system like this. You'll see that every few blocks, it ticks. You can see that if I add in a few more into the system, it starts taking longer. Alright, next up on the list is going to be the hopper minecart unloader system. These are very easy to make and they are very commonly used, especially whenever you have farms and such. So in my survival world underneath my bee farm, I actually have one of these hooked up. So this is running underneath the blocks where the honeycombs would have fallen, and it runs into one of these circuits and then it drops all of it off into the chest system. So as you can see here, if I look at this and then I place in a few of these planks here, and then I get up here and I push the minecart over to there, it drops it off and then it automatically gets sent right back. And you can look down here and there are the planks. This is a very easy thing to use, and I very highly recommend it, especially if you are trying to sort some items or you just need to move them some kind of distance away from the actual farm itself. It is a very useful thing, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. So before we get started with this, I just wanted to say that you can make this considerably longer than, well, this. In my own personal worlds, I have made these a lot longer than this, and they work just fine. You don't really have to worry so much about the distance of the rail. I mean, obviously you want them to be able to be loaded in and to be able to move and stuff like that. But the only thing you really have to focus on is the redstone part here, and that is simple enough. So we are going to start by actually putting this thing together, which is going to consist by starting with the actual railway. So for the sake of this, we're just going to make it about 3 blocks long like so. And then once we get it put together, we'll have a chest and then a hopper right on top of it that is facing directly into it. You know that because of the funnel facing down into it. And then you will have a powered rail right on top of that. And then you'll go over to the other side of the chest. You'll add a solid block and then a comparator. And then on the other side of the comparator, you'll place another block. You will place a torch on top of that. And then you'll place another solid block right beside it. And then right above it, another redstone dust. And then on top of the torch, another solid block. And you will know that it's working because this is then powered and all of this is powered, but the comparator is not. The comparator isn't because there's nothing in the hopper. So how this works is if there is something inside of this hopper, then this will get turned on. When this gets turned on, all of this will turn off, meaning the hopper minecart can't move back and out of the way. So let's demonstrate this here. Once I put in a few blocks and then I give it just a quick little nudge over there, you'll see that it stops, that activates, and then that activates again once this is emptied out. And then all the drops are here and nothing is still stuck in the hopper, and that is all there is to it. Alright, so next up I'm going to show you how to actually load these hopper minecarts up. Over here I showed you how to unload them. Over here I'm going to show you how to actually load them up. So you can see over here in this hopper that I've got only 2 stacks of planks. This is how much is going to be allowed to go into the hopper minecart. And up here I've got more than 2 stacks. And essentially what's going to happen is I'm going to get 2 full stacks put into the minecart hopper when it's on the track here. And what's left will actually stay in here. You see, once I put this in here, it gets caught on the detector rail and it starts picking up items. And once it stops picking up the signal, it'll then retract that and send it on its way. In that chest here, it still has the leftover planks, and then here it actually has the 2 stacks and just a little bit more than well, what we originally allowed, but those couple blocks, that's not going to be too big of a deal. So let me show you how this actually works. So the detector rail here, it detects when there is a hopper like right above it, or the minecart hopper right above it with items flowing into it, and once there's nothing more flowing into it, this entire thing kind of does its thing and it retracts this, pulls that glass block back, and then it sends this on its way. The comparator here is reading how much to actually output, and this is detecting those 2 stacks, and it will send a signal once it is reading that. And that's basically how all of this works. Let me show you how to build it. So first I'm going to start by actually building the track itself. Again, well, you don't really need anything just too big or, whatever for this, but we're just going to keep it relatively small just for the sake of the video. So I'm going to place a powered rail and then another rail here. And then going down on the diagonal is where I'm going to have the detector rail. And then right below it is where I'm going to have the extra rails. Preferably the powered rails is what I'm using. And then I have a lever to turn those on. So you can, maneuver this however you like whenever you build this in your own world. So right here beside it is where I'm going to have a comparator facing inwards. And I don't really know if the hopper facing inwards to the comparator is necessary. I do believe it is. It's the only way I've ever done it. I've kind of taught all of this to myself over time. So, forgive me if some of this is just a little off. But yeah, so again, I'm going to grab another comparator. We are going to face it over this direction, and then we're going to place another solid block right behind it with a redstone torch right there. And then on the other side of that, we are going to place a sticky piston facing out. You'll see that it's powered on because this is out like this. Then we will grab the glass block or any other solid block that you want to use, and then above it we will have a set of chests like so. Or, one chest just floating if that's what you're into, I guess. I don't really know. That's not something that I would do. And that should just about be it. So now all we have to do is we have to set the filter itself. So let me grab some blocks real quick. All right, and now I've loaded these up with blocks. There's 1 stack in here, which is going to be what we allow to go through this. And I've got 2 stacks in here just because. And then when we go over here and we place this down, we turn this on. It gets sent over, it starts picking up the items as you can see, and then it gets sent on its way. You'll see that I've got the planks in here and the leftovers remaining in there. And that's all there is to this. I realize this one is a little bit more confusing, but this one is actually really cool, and I've used it a time or two, and I just think it's really useful. This next one is probably one of the simpler ones to actually build in this video. So what I've got here is an auto dropper. So essentially what happens is when you place items inside of the dropper, the comparator is picking up how many items are in it, and it sends a redstone signal around, and essentially the repeater just, well, it extends that and sends it right back into the dropper, making it spit out the items. You can see once I put items in, it just starts spitting them out like this. And then once it runs out of items, it's going to stop. Alright, so here's how you actually build it. We're going to start by placing a dropper, and then right behind it, we'll place the comparator. We'll place one redstone repeater, and then one more facing inwards. And you can kind of do this in any direction. It doesn't have to be necessarily this side. You can rotate it around this side, or have the comparator on this side and then the repeater facing in, this way, or just however you want to do it. And then you'll place the redstone dust all the way around like this. And then you place your blocks in, and it'll start spitting it out like this. And that's all there is to this. It is super simple. Now you might be wondering to yourself, Lane, why would I ever use this? Well, if you're wondering that, then you might not have seen last episode whenever I did the auto sorter video. And the way I use my auto sorters is using these auto droppers. These auto droppers feed into it, and they go up a water tube, and then they sort themselves out that way. Or you can, find some other creative ways to use this in your own world based upon, your needs. So this is a really cool device, and I think it is one worth mentioning, and I feel like it is one worth trying out if you've never tried one before. Now this next contraption is something that I've never personally used, but is something that I'm very interested in doing. It is something that you should definitely consider if you play with people or things like that. I just think this is a really cool thing, or maybe if you just want something to light up in your world. But let me explain what this is. So this essentially is, it is a light indicator thing. So basically, if you turn on this one, it'll turn on the light indicating that you are running, maybe this is your farm or something like that. You hit it again and it'll turn it off, and you can do that basically all across all of these. This is completely tileable, meaning you could stretch this out kind of like the auto sorters or things like that, and it only affects the one thing. And what makes this kind of cool is that essentially whenever you toggle this on, it brings those redstone blocks back up, which can then send out an output signal to the farm. So you can connect this up to like a redstone farm of some sort, and whenever you flick this button, it'll actually activate that farm or turn it off or whatever. And it'll also power the repeater that powers this, which is really, really cool. That's why there's repeaters on both sides. This one here is not here just for looks. This is an output. I just have nothing to actually connect it to. So now that we actually have that out of the way, let's go ahead and build this, and I'll explain to you how it works in a minute. Alright, so I know down there I remembered to show you the materials for the hopper clock, and then the rest of them I kind of forgot them, but that's okay. If you followed along, you should just about have it. So all you're really going to need are going to be repeaters, sticky pistons, observers, and some redstone lamps, and some buttons. Or you can use levers, but I personally think the buttons look better, but that's, dealer's choice. So now here's how we build it. So we're going to build it from the back going forward. We're going to start by placing some building blocks down. Make sure they are solid blocks. And you'll place the repeaters facing outwards. That is your output side. And then some repeaters facing inwards. This is your input side. And then in between the repeaters, you want to shift click in some of these redstone blocks. You'll know that it's working because, well, all of these will light up like that. And then if you go up here and put some temporary blocks and then get underneath them and place down these sticky pistons like so, this is what it should look like right now. So now is going to be, a little bit different. We are going to use observers to power these, which is something that I don't do very often, but it is a rather cool concept. So real quick, we are going to place a couple of temporary blocks up here, and then we are going to place some observers like this. The butt end should be facing down, You should be able to look up here and see the eyes facing upwards like that. And then you'll want to come to the back of this, and you are going to want to place more temporary blocks and place the sticky pistons facing inwards like so. Down here, you're going to want to place these blocks up against the repeaters. These will actually put out a redstone signal to these lamps. You'll see that because they are turned on. If we place these buttons here and we press one, you'll see that this will turn off and the redstone will have moved back here. When the redstone is on the same level as these other two blocks, they'll power on these repeaters, which will then power on the farm that it's connecting to, or it will power on this side here. And whenever the redstone block is down like this, it won't be able to power up these repeaters, which means the farm is off and the light should also be off. The observer, it changes this and it powers it all up, and it can also turn it all back off. Alright folks, I think that just about does it for today's episode. If you enjoyed these contraptions, please be sure to leave a like, comment down below, and be sure to leave a comment down below letting me know what you guys look forward to seeing next, as well as any other redstone videos that you look forward to seeing or have any recommendations or anything like that. And subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any more future content. My name is Lane, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye everybody.